Everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the new moon in Sagittarius, sitting at 26 degrees Sag, obviously. So I hope that you are all well under this current astrological climate and dealing with whatever you are dealing with at this point in time. You're able to have, to a certain degree, some support on this process. So before I jump into talking to you about what you see on the screen, before I talk into the microphone about what my message is with you today, I'd like to first say a couple of things. Firstly, thank you so much to every single one of you for the support that you consistently provide when watching these videos. You give me the inspiration, as well as myself. I give myself the inspiration to want to continue doing these. And so I'm really excited for Saturn and Capricorn and the process of me being able to put more energy into the direction of how I do this work. And for you particularly, the outcome is how can I empower the people that watch my videos. So thank you so much for that. I greatly appreciate that, okay? The second thing is, and this is just a couple of announcements quickly. So Saturn Capricorn videos are coming out, I'm not entirely sure when, but I know within the next like 3 weeks, okay? And I've been sort of reflecting on what I want to say. I've been, looking at how I can present it for everybody. One of my greatest goals here is to create beautifully illustrated astrological content, so that not only are you listening to the nature of the stars, but also being able to have this beautiful sense of visual stimulation at the same time. So that's coming out soon. So don't forget about that, because of course there's going to be a workshop that I want to put around that for everybody. So if you're interested in understanding this on a more deeper level, I will be creating that workshop and setting it up. Astrology school, foundation class astrology, that will be beginning towards the end of January. So if you're wanting to learn astrology in itself, set your dates for the middle to end of January, and start if you need to save up some cash, think about doing that, and so on and so forth. Okay. And finally, and this is the big announcement that I really want to put across to everybody. For 2 years, I have been building this framework called the Metamorphosis Program. And this is something that's very close to my heart, because it is a program that was revealed to me through a vision. And I know I sound sort of like all guru-like. I'm not talking about that in any sense. It was more like, wow, this really, really resonates with me, and I really want to build it. And all the thoughts, all the structures were all laid out in front of me, and it was just like, go ahead and do it. So the Metamorphosis Program, it is an online program / course that you do with me, where it's fully one-to-one interaction, okay? And over the last 2 years, I've been tweaking it. I've been falling into holes about how I can improve it. I've been adjusting it, and I've been trying to make it as amazing as possible for the interaction that you, as the soul that wants to interact with it, and how to make it really, really good. So within the 2 years, I've really, really gotten some great knowledge on how to work with this program. So it's a program where we interact with each other one-on-one for 12 weeks. Okay, so it's an intensive process of deep psychological and emotional and spiritual work that we do one-on-one. It's like having 12 live guidance sessions every single week with me. And then there is the continuation process. So you work with me either for a year or you work with me for 3 months, right? And it's specifically designed to talk to you about your human design. It's specifically designed to talk about your astrology and all of the different pieces of information and methodologies and things that I have learned and educated with myself. This is something that I bring to you when you participate in this program. So if you are interested in really, really deep transformation, where you spend time just completely transforming yourself during this period of time, this program is designed for that. And what I wanted to say as well is that if you have a look in the comments below and as well as the description, there's a link to my website where you can see what this is about. And if you are genuinely serious, now this is something that I really, it's really, really serious on my hand, is that if you're really serious about this process, then there is a 20-minute consultation that you can have with me, where you can ask any questions that you have, so I can provide you with anything that you want to know. And also for you to get a sense of who I am and so on and so forth. Okay, so like I said, I know I've taken a little bit of time with regards to this new moon thing, but I really wanted to tell people about this. So the Metamorphosis Program, okay? Alrighty then, so we are a couple of minutes into the video, and what are we talking about here with this new moon in Sagittarius, okay? On the screen at the moment, you can see 3 arrows, okay? The first arrow that I want us to pay attention to is the nature of Chiron, okay? And Chiron is highlighted in purple, the purple arrow in the 9 o'clock position, okay? Now, something that's really important to grasp and understand about your relationship to life and how life is operating through us is that everything is cyclical, okay? Everything that exists within our world from a natural perspective, i.e. what is natural, okay? Not invented by man that has manipulated through, mental thinking, but what is natural, has a cyclical experience. It cycles. And we are beings that exist within this universe that have these cycles that are of birth, that are of maturity, that are of expansion and empowerment, right through to surrender, and then eventually returning back to the source and completing that. And all of these energies represent the cycles within cycles within cycles, okay? So Chiron in Pisces, okay, and its relationship to the squares between Saturn, the moon, the sun, okay, and eventually Venus, okay, all in Sagittarius. Yeah, and you can see it over here, there on the little cursor. That's where that whole stellium in Sag is about. That relationship between Pisces and Sagittarius talks about the wisdom and knowledge that we are able to extract from each cycle that we evolve through. So like in human design, as an example, when you talk about the 41 codon that sits in the root and the 35 that ends in the throat, this is the experimental way. And it's the process in which we start something, initiate something, we experience it, we evolve through the emotional body, and then we come out the other side and we are, wow, that was the experience. That was my direct experience. And it is wisdom and knowledge. So these symbols over here represent to us that there's the experience, or should I say the relationship to this new moon is about experiencing life in each moment. And what is each moment teaching us, helping us become aware of? How are we interacting with it? Where each moment is teaching us something and we are learning from it, okay? And that we are not educating our minds from opinions and perceptions of others, but simply our own emotional interaction with it. And what is it reflecting about us as we interact with it, and so on and so forth, okay? So what is our truth, and how do we experience our truth? Through our own experiences. And the Chiron is the capacity for us to feel into and know things and have wisdom from actually going through the experience versus the more intellectualization and detachment associated with our more mental approach to life, right? So what was your direct experience of something versus the perception of another? All right, I hope that really makes sense there. So it's the embodiment of truth. It's the embodiment of our learning through direct experience. And these signs and symbols, the squares particularly that are being made to Chiron, reflect a tension aspect, right? A crisis in consciousness square. So what we're dealing with here is the sun is the only planet that's not making the crisis in consciousness square. The sun is the crisis in action square. I don't want to get too technical here, but in terms of what these symbols are reflecting to us and their relationship to Chiron, This is a individuating expression. Okay, the energy wants to break out. The energy wants to know itself from in itself. So this is an individuating expression. The vision that comes to me when I connect with the symbolism is like, if you can imagine a fractal that is expanding, imagine that each direction that the fractal moves upon, this energy wants to individuate itself. It wants to break free from the patterns that are consistent and are methodical, and wants to try out something completely new as a way of sense of adventure. So a lot of the message that's contained within this chart is, how are we in each moment becoming aware of our lives, not by projecting a sense of direction and control with our mental facility, but more how are we embracing each moment. And it's more receptive. It's a more feminine principle. It's an allowance of life showing us the process versus us feeling the need to control it through an outcome. And that's what happens whenever you try and place an outcome on something. There's always going to be an expectation that's linked with it. There's always going to be a need to create boundaries that allows for the flow of energy to move in the direction that you're wanting to manipulate it in. And thirdly, when we're interacting with it, it's not something that is organic and natural. And so therefore, the outcome is through the mind projecting into the future. And that's something that's really interesting to consider over here, is that when we operate through the mind, we're operating through the dynamics of either the past and the future. That's what's so brilliant about the mind. It can give us that perception to look in those dynamics. But when we want to experience every single experience in the moment as it is, and what we're experiencing from it in an organic way, then this is about embracing. This is about allowing. This is about watching what comes to us and then being able to interact with it and respond to it. So as you can see, the symbols are in the late degrees of Sagittarius. And the point here is that this is a completion cycle. Saturn's going into Capricorn within the next day or so. And that's it. Like, Saturn's transit through Sagittarius has completed itself. I'm not 100% sure. Please let me know if it is the case or not. I haven't researched it yet. If Saturn goes back into Sag through its retrograde motion. But the process of Saturn through Sag is completing. And so there is this new mood that initiates all of the work that we have been experiencing over the last 2.5 years with Saturn cycle in Sag to complete itself, right? So the new moon invites us to look at the ultimate way in which we understand cosmic wisdom. Sagittarius is cosmic wisdom. And this again is correlating to this message I'm talking about embracing, about allowance. And we process this in our lives as the soul's journey. It's unfolding in front of us, right? When something is natural, when you look at the Fibonacci sequence, when you look at the nature of how spiral dynamics work, you can understand that everything is unfolding in each moment. So how is your life unfolding for you, and where are you in your cycle, right? Some people are in their Saturn return cycle, some people in their first Saturn square, some people in the Uranus opposition, some people in the Chiron return, etc. Where are you in your cyclical process? So that's the big message there with those two symbols, particularly Chiron and its relationship to those symbols over there, the embracing of the new. Why do I say embracing of the new? Because when you look at the symbols here, you've also got Jupiter and Scorpio. Mars is in a balsamic phase to Jupiter over here. And they're also squaring the nodal axis, okay? And this is about letting go of the past, letting go of the debris, and rinsing out all of the cosmic, or should I say not cosmic, but rinsing out all of our like emotional debris that we carry within us, right? The old life that we once lived and no longer can be supported anymore. It feels dead. So we're in this space between the new emerging reality that we can feel, right? And that's the trines that are being made with the sun and the moon and Saturn all to the north node, and particularly Venus as well, right? These trines that are making to the north node, the fire trine, and also Uranus as well, you can see here that there's this element of new energy being bursting into this material plane. And Jupiter square the nodes, remember here that Sagittarius is the sign that rules Jupiter, and the other way around. So Jupiter is actually the sign that is influencing Saturn, the sun, the moon, Mercury, and Venus, okay? So you can see here that Jupiter's influence in its relationship to the nodes are reflecting this karmic bouncing back and forth between the past dynamics of the old way of being and the feeling of enrichment and embracing and life-fulfilled purpose on the other side. And it's about embodying the truth. It's about embodying your new reality. It's no longer this process of I'm going to try to. It's actually living it. So for me, as an example, here's a direct experience for me in my life right now. I've got a lot of projects that I've been wanting to put into place, but I really haven't been able to really organize it in a way that could not only support my work, but also my relationship to the home and to the children and stuff, right? And now that there's a little bit more freedom opening up in the next year for me, there is a lot more platforms that are able to actually help me structure these more bigger programs that I want to offer everybody for their teachings. Okay, to learn astrology, to understand metamorphosis, to interact with workshops and so on and so forth. Even my Patreon page that's going to be launched really, really soon. And I'm really, really excited to share with you guys what I want to offer with the Patreon page. All of that type of stuff is the new energy in me. I'm super excited. I wake up, like I said, at 5 o'clock in the morning on most days, and I'm embracing, upgrading the quality of my content, really, really thinking about how can I really nourish you as the collective through my own inspiration. So I'm living that experience. And as I live that experience, I actually have the environmental feedback to say, okay, this is where you need some more structure. This is where you should adjust this over here. This is how this can work. And through that, I'm actually learning versus the need to be educated through external. So the embodiment of truth, the commitment to your new life is absolutely essential, okay? And the square to the nodes is creating this kind of ping-ponging effect where the past and the future are there simultaneously, and you need to embrace the North Node. You need to embrace your passion, your sense of joy, and really commit to it, live it, okay? All right, guys, thanks so much for letting me be all pumped up and excited about doing this message. I really hope that the way that I express myself through these messages really hits home for you, and it inspires you to walk away and say, yes, I've got my life and I want to take the best advantage of it. Because if that's the case, then I've definitely made some impact on you, the viewer that's watching this. Cool, so that's my message for you today. What I want to do for you is ask you, as a quiz, okay? Right, in the video, at some point, I said to you that Chiron's relationship to the squares represents what? So anybody that feels free to, listen to the video and want to write in the comments. So my question to you is Chiron's square to Saturn and the moon and Venus. What phasal relationship is it in, okay? And also, what is the phasal relationship between Chiron and the sun? All right, so you can write that in the comments below. That would be super cool. I'm intrigued to hear if you guys are remembering. And don't forget the Metamorphosis program in the description, as well as the comments. There's links to go check that out. Please make sure that if you really want to commit to this process, I'm super happy to offer a consultation, and we can chat about how to get you going with that. Okay? All right, guys, have a wonderful week. I will speak to you super soon with something else that I'm going to create for you. Other than that, take care. Bye-bye.